this is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the latest version of the HTC One. This is the HTC One Google Play Edition, and as you might guess, it's sold by Google on the Google Play Store. It's unlocked, and we're going to look at it now. So here it is, the HTC One, yet again, still one of the nicest handsets available right now in any country. 4.7-inch Super LCD 3 display, 1920 by 1080. You got full HD resolution going on here. Lovely, good viewing angles. Though this particular desktop, which is the default wallpaper for the Google Play Edition, doesn't show it so well, but still nice viewing angles. Very good auto brightness on this. Beautiful design. We've got the aluminum with the polycarbonate filling in here. Luscious as ever. Not any different in terms of hardware from any other HTC One, be it your carrier edition or HTC's own unlocked version. They also sell an unlocked 32 gig version, which this is, for $5.99. That's how much this one costs. The Google Play Edition is $5.99. Your carrier likely sells also a phone for $5.99 without a contract, retail for the 32 gig. Everything the same. Here's my HTC One on AT&T, and other than the fact I haven't removed the Icky sticker on the back, and there's a little carrier logo for the AT&T version, you're looking at the same phone here. In fact, very much the same, because the Google Play Edition is using the hardware of the AT&T version of the HTC One. That becomes important because that tells you what radios are inside here. You're going to get full coverage of everything that AT&T has to offer on this phone, which means all of their 3G bands, all of their LTE coverage, Edge, all of that stuff is here, GSM for phone calls. If you're a T-Mobile customer, there's no 1700 megahertz 3G, that's HSPA, HSPA+. It does have 1900, and T-Mobile has been refarming some of their spectrum over to put 3G on 1900, but there's a chance that you might not get 3G depending on what towers you've got in your area. Now when it comes to LTE, this does have LTE on both AT&T's bands and on the AWS bands used by T-Mobile US, so you're covered for 4G LTE with this device, regardless of which carrier you've got, T-Mobile or AT&T. You Sprint and you Verizon folks, this is not the phone for you. This is not a CDMA phone, and that's the network technology that Sprint and Verizon use. Has the same micro SIM card slot here. You have to use a paper clip or the little pokey tool that HTC includes to get your little tray out here, and you can put in your SIM. It's unlocked, so you don't have to unlock it to use any SIM that you want. And if you're going to take this abroad, you'll get coverage there too. It's quad band, GSM, and Edge. And you should be able to get some coverage on some 3G bands in Europe, but it really depends on, again, what carrier, what towers you're looking at there. Who is the phone for? Really, it's not just somebody who's looking for an unlocked phone, because you can get that already from HTC themselves. This is for folks who are looking for the pure Google experience. You can see here we've got our standard Google wallpaper right here. We have a very clean look right here. Minimalist, not much going on. Just a core set of applications here. Pretty much every application that Google makes and usually puts on a phone is found on here. There are, of course, no carrier applications whatsoever. And there's no HTC Sense applications either, which could be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how you want to look at it. So that's what really sets this apart. If you just want the latest version of Android right now, 4.2.2 Jelly Bean is what's on this phone, and you're hoping to probably get updates sooner than other folks, this would be the phone for you. Why do I say probably? Because, again, this is kind of new territory here. This is not a Nexus branded phone. Nexus phones get the latest OS updates generally before anybody else until the hardware can no longer bear it, until the hardware is not sufficient to support whatever the latest operating system is. In the case of Google Play Editions, which means the HTC One Google Play Edition and also the Samsung Galaxy S4 Google Play Edition, it's up to manufacturer to provide you with OS updates, firmware updates. So it's a little bit more of a gray area. We don't know how long HTC will support this. Likewise, we don't know how long Samsung is going to support the Galaxy S4 Google Play Edition. Now, HTC has been pretty enthusiast-friendly lately, and we expect that they're going to try to get updates out to this phone as much as is possible. But again, we're not talking Nexus here, a little bit different game. So unlike the Nexus 4, this is a Google Play Edition, not just a Nexus phone. While we're speaking about the Nexus 4, which is certainly a lovely little phone made by LG, what's better here that's going to make you pay more money? Because this is $5.99, the Nexus 4 is only $2.99. You get LTE 4G here. Really, that's a pretty big selling point. You get significantly faster data on. You'll also get a higher resolution display on this phone, 720p versus the full HD, and a faster CPU. The LG Nexus 4 has quite a fast CPU. It's a Quad S4 Pro. This guy has the 1.7 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon 600 with Adreno 320 graphics, so even faster. So all the hardware specs are the same in here as the regular HTC One. You get your 2 gigs of RAM, you get your 32 gigs of storage. The 64 gig is not available through Google Play, at least not yet. You have the same 4 megapixel ultra pixel camera on the back, really good at low light photography. You get your front camera as well. GPS with GLONASS, dual band Wi-Fi 802.11 AC on here, Bluetooth as well, and NFC. Yes, it has NFC. No, it doesn't support Google Wallet. It's kind of surprising that you think maybe the Google Play Edition would, but no Google Wallet on here. In terms of performance, it feels very snappy. So does my regular HTC One, to be honest, on AT&T. HTC Sense is very light. It doesn't really touch the operating system much. This is not like TouchWiz on the Samsung Galaxy S4, which adds a lot of software and processes on top. Sure, it's fast, it's responsive, it's light, but then again, let's just take a look at my HTC One right here on AT&T. Also very fast and light. This one we go up and down to scroll around. Everything is as zippy as you could want it on this phone as well. Now here's what you're going to get rid of if you go with the Google Play Edition. We have Blink Feed right here. If you swipe to the side, you probably know about this already, you get Blink Feed, which is a compendium of news sources, social networking feeds. It's pretty neat, but some people have no use for it. They'd rather have it gone, so you're going to lose that. You're also going to lose HTC Zoe, that neat camera feature that makes a compendium of shots and video together for sort of like a Vine moment. People really actually love that. Also, the HTC One has more camera features, and we'll show you the camera features in just a minute on the Google Play Edition, but first, here we have our camera UI. You can switch between front and back. You can tap over here and choose from a whole bunch of different scene selections right here, all sorts of color effects going on. Scene modes, HDR mode, sweeping panorama. Locking focus in video, continuous shooting on, all sorts of stuff's going on here. And really, particularly, some of these are pretty fun, a lot of the effects that you can get. Now, in comparison, here's our Google Play Edition. You can see very different treatment of the viewfinder, and this is an updated camera app from Google. Thank God, because their last camera app was just not really the best thing. You can tap to choose your focus point, which is a good thing, and if you want to get to more settings, you tap over here, and now you have this little arc. That's not going to stick around for long right here, but you can switch your cameras, you can turn HDR on and off, you can adjust your EV, control the flash, and if you want to get to more settings, you tap it, and you have another arc full of settings right here. So you can choose your scene mode, for example, timer mode, whether location's on or off, and if you choose scene mode, yet another arc appears. Still, in my opinion, this is not the best way to handle a UI, but hey, it gets the job done, and we do have things like the really cool panorama function that Google has on the device. And right here you can get to your shortcut of video, camera, panorama, or this full circular panorama function, or photosphere. So it gives you tips on how to do that, and so you just go start moving around, creating a planet-wide, shall we say, image. Now, one thing about this camera, 4 megapixel ultra camera on the back, really good at low light, that hasn't changed, and Google actually did a pretty good job here. The exposure, the focusing speeds, they're all pretty good with this. Video is going to record in mono instead of stereo on the HTC Sense 5 version of the phone, and one thing that I've noticed is this one doesn't handle contrast quite as well. You can see this happening a little bit on screen right now. If it's a high contrast setting, whites tend to blow out a little bit more than they do on the HTC One. On the upside, we see a little bit less noise on this guy, which is always a good thing. The noise shows up because HTC likes to use a lot of sharpening on their photos. Well, let's take a look at the gallery application, where we have a few photos saved up of something more interesting. So here's our gallery. It's a very simple strip presentation. You can do film strip, or you can do the kind of grid layout. And you can see it's a very nice, colorful, sharp shot. Even as we zoom in, there's still plenty of detail in the trees. A little fringing on the telephone wires there, but it looks pretty good, and noise really is kept at a minimum. Now here you can see a little bit what I'm talking about the exposure. It really did white out the hood over here a bit. And that's a little bit nicer right there, and again, like no noise, which is pretty impressive for a camera that is 4 ultra pixels and not some 13 megapixel super shooter. so nice. I still slightly prefer HTC's camera software and their exposure, and not to mention you are losing Zoe here. Since HTC Sense 5 is such a light UI overlay, you're really not going to see too much of a difference. But right here you can see HTC is customized with the weather and the time up top. When you're looking at your app drawer, you're just going to have the standard app drawer over here. So a little bit different, certainly in terms of that presentation. And also, more interestingly, settings, you actually get more in the way of settings. Now this is going to change when HTC releases their 4.2 update for the HTC One with Sense 5. You're going to get some access to settings here, but right now there's just about nothing that you can do up top, which is a little bit maddening. And even with standard Android, there we go, I have our notifications. If I tap right there, I have some quick access to airplane mode, Wi-Fi brightness, and all that kind of thing. I actually prefer that. I would like to have quick access. So eventually we should see that on our HTC One on carriers and the developer edition that HTC sells, but for right now, that's a plus. Another thing you lose is the FM radio. Right here in media, we have our FM radio on the HTC One with Sense 5. There is no FM radio over here. Even more importantly, you know, these guys both have the power button that doubles as an IR remote. Up here, this is your IR window right there. That's also your power button. There is no AV remote software available for the Google Play Edition right now. Kind of a bummer there. The handling of gallery is also quite different in general. You can see Google's very simple layout over here. We're in the viewing the camera. We can go between film strip and grid view right here. And that's our initial view of the gallery. And here we have a whole lot more going on. Now you may like this, you may not like this. One thing that folks haven't liked is we've got My Photos, which is pretty neat, and your camera shots, but we have a lot of stuff that comes from social networking here. And HTC said that they're going to probably give us a way to turn that stuff off because that's just kind of like a bit of overload. Most of the time I think we just want to look at the pictures that we've taken ourselves are saved, or the videos that we put on there. And once we're looking at pictures just inside the camera shot, you can see they handle them pretty much similarly. Obviously I've got more photos on my own personal HTC One, but that part's pretty much the same. So that could be a bonus. Like I said, if you lose that social networking, that could be a good thing. Now, in theory, our data speeds should be identical on these. They're really the same hardware radios inside. Of course, there can be differences in the software radios that are used. I found that my HTC One and AT&T actually gets slightly faster speed so far side by side. We'll do a test right in front of you. We're going to do them one at a time so that one sucking bandwidth doesn't affect the other. We'll see how we do there. And that is our Google Play Edition running that test right now. And we'll look at overall results to see the numbers that we got. We'll make this one do it now. And neither of them is putting in a stunning result for this particular test. Just a few minutes ago, in the same location, they were actually getting better speeds. But we'll be able to compare those in a minute. So you can see our most recent speed tests here on both phones. This one is the AT&T edition. The other one is the Google Play edition. Call quality on these guys is just fine. Customizations to the people, the contacts, and the calendar is pretty minimal on the HTC Sense version. They do some nice things with the People app, adding a couple of features, but really not a whole lot going on there. It's not the huge customizations that Samsung does to some of the built-in apps with their own version of calendar and all that kind of thing. Call quality on both of these is equally as good. In fact, it's just excellent. Really nice call quality. Bluetooth has behaved well for us in calls as well. So really, in the end, you've also got Beats audio and boom sound, which means the stereo speaker is facing front here. It's going to come down to what kind of experience you want. If you're one of those people who just loves that pure Google experience, doesn't want any kind of software overlay, then, well, obviously the Google Play Edition is going to be for you. Personally, I would go with the HTC Sense 5 version because the overlays that they put on this phone are just really, really small and mostly helpful. I really like the Zoe feature a lot. I like the camera tweaks that they've done and the slightly better photos and video that I'm getting out of it. And I don't mind blink feed. I kind of like that as a news source on the front of my screen right here, like so. Again, you can ignore that if you want to. And for those of you who just want the unlocked edition, don't forget, like I said, HTC also sells the unlocked 32 gig version of the phone, same price as these, and then there's the 64 gig developer edition as well. It's nice to have choices. HTC was wise to offer this up in as many ways as possible. So that's the HTC One Google Play Edition. It's available now on Google's online store, $5.99. The same price as every 32 gig HTC One pretty much, whether it's from a carrier or just paying retail, or if you want to buy HTC's own unlocked version. And as you can see, it's really up to you what software you want out of the device. If you want it really clean, this is the one for you. If you want some of the nice HTC Sense 5 editions that HTC made, then you probably want to go with their unlocked version or with the carrier version, especially if you're eligible for an upgrade and a discount. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to visit our website for the full written review of the HTC One, and don't forget to hit that like button.